With the end of my Fallout 3 low intelligence pacifist run, I wanted to do the exact same run for my favourite Fallout game, Fallout New Vegas. Now the rules from the last run are exactly the same. Have a special stat of 1 for intelligence, don't put any points into skills that I would deem requiring intelligence in some way, and not actively attacking anybody in some way. Having other people kill is fine as long as you don't kill them yourself. We start off tied up and getting shot in the head. We're dug up by a robot Securitron and taken to Doc Mitchell wherein he performs brain surgery on us. After we wake up, he gives us a reflectron and we go on to create the most beautiful female in all of the Mojave. After that, he gets up and we waddle over to the Vigor Tester machine. As with the last time, I decided to use the same special stats, removing everything but luck, charisma, agility and endurance. Once that's done, Dr. Mitchell tells us that he's sorry for our low intelligence. After that, he gives us some pointless tests and tells us just to fill in our stat sheet ourselves. I once again pick barter, speech and sneak. I skip taking any traits and the doc lets us leave. We leave the house and the blowing sun blinds us until our eyes adjust to the outdoor light, and in this game's case it's a much less effective version of the intro to Fallout 3's world. We head into the nearby saloon and meet Sunny Smiles. She essentially gives us the tutorial for the game. She tells us to shoot a few Sunset soda bottles and then we decide that we never want to fire a gun ever again.
Well, that's a start.
She offers to let us kill some geckos, but we decline.
I'm heading back now. Hope I didn't miss anything good on the... Hey, do me a favor. Trudy, she's the bartender up at the Prospector. Kind of the town mom. She likes to meet newcomers. She'd be cross with me if I didn't ask you to poke your head in and say hi.
We're then told to go talk to Trudy. She doesn't really have too much of interest to say other than the people that shot me were heading to the north. We make our way to Prim. We're told by a soldier that the town has been taken over by convicts. Unfortunately, we need to get into the town to receive the information we need about the delivery. This was quite a challenge. We were gunned down a few times just trying to get into the casino so that we could talk to Mr. Nash about our shipping delivery invoice.
Come on.
He tells us that the deputy would have an idea as to where the people that shot me went. Unfortunately, he's a bit tied up at the moment in the hotel opposite. I leave the town and get chased by a group of the convicts. I run away and the NCR begins to open fire on them. Apparently the convicts were too much for the NCR as they were soon overrun. Picking through the debris, I grab up any useful stuff that I can possibly find, stimpaks, food, armour and the like. After grabbing what I can, I move to the Steve Bison Hotel. I find the deputy and he tells me what he knows. One of the convicts didn't like that and I was bonked on the head. This time I decided to take the sneaky stealth route instead of charging straight for the hostage. Unfortunately, I'm spotted shortly after.
Anybody there?
This time I really didn't have the time to go through all of Deputy Beagle's dialogue, so I just take the journal out of his pocket and rush for the main door. After listening to the journal, we're told to head towards Nipton. We meet some crazed power ganger named Oliver. He talks about he won the lottery and has won his freedom. I head into the town and then decide to avoid the people burning buildings and corpses and hanging people up. I take the path left and then I'm told to head towards the nearest town of Novak. When we eventually get there, we're met again by Victor, the robot that dug us up and saved us. He says it's good to see us. We say it's the same. We ask if he's seen the people that we're looking for. He tells us that he hasn't seen anybody like that and tells us to check around the town. At this point, the only two people that have seen anything are the two snappers that inhabit the giant T-Rex tower. Unfortunately, we've got to do a couple of things for both of them. Manny wants us to clear out the local Rob Cove rocket facility, and Boone wants us to find out who sold his wife. I decide to help out Boone first because his assistance will be the most useful to me. We ask around the town about his missing wife, and nobody knows anything except for an old hermit called No Bark. He tells us that he saw something, and that somebody ran into the reception area of the motel.
Get me to talk before, but I didn't say nothing, and I don't aim to now, by gum. Confounded No Bark, you done it again. You let on that you know things. Now they'll never let you be. All right, stranger, you got me. What do you want to know? Seen it all. Seen shadowy folk come to his room and leave again in the middle of the night. Thought one might have gone in the lobby.
We head straight there to see what, if anything, we can find. We're told by Jean May that she doesn't know anything about that. We search her pockets and acquire her safe key. Looking in the safe, we find a bill of sale that tells us that she sold Boone's wife. After that, we ask her to come with us to the front of the local dinosaur shop, where Boone takes care of her. Boone then ponders on what he's going to do now that he has some form of closure. We ask him to come with us, and he decides that's as good as an idea. We ask him to come with us, and he decides that's as good an idea as any, so Boone joins the party.
I won't be staying, I know that.
Next up, we decide to help Manny and his ghoul problem. We head to the facility, and we're told by a ghoul that we need to head up the stairs straight away. We rush past any hostiles whilst Boone takes care of what he can. We meet Chris, and he tells us to meet Jason Bright, a glowing one. Jason tells us that he wants him and his cult to go to the Great Beyond, but the rockets that will take them to the Great Beyond aren't fully operational, and that the area that leads to the rockets are being guarded by a load of Nightkin, a stealth variant of the super mutant. I tell Boone to wait back because I don't want him to alert the mutants. We sneak down and get detected straight away. Not having a choice, I rush down and meet up with Antler and Davison. They're looking for Stealth Boys. They were told that a delivery of Stealth Boys had made it here. Unfortunately for them, a ghoul has taken up residence in the one room that they need to get into. So it's a three-way stalemate. We tell him that we'll get into the room and find his Stealth Boys. We enter the room and the ghoul tells us that he will let us check if we find his girlfriend. Frankly, at this point, I'm sick of doing all the favours for people. Luckily for me, a Nightkin is as sick of this nonsense as I am, and decides to rush past me and attack the ghoul guarding the Stealth Boys. A few seconds later, the Nightkin decides that this was a mistake. He decides that he's going to run back out of the room, but unfortunately he is gunned down as he tries to leave. I'll sneak my way up to the terminal that holds the information and grab the information that I need. Once that is done, I'll sneak my way back to Davison and tell him the bad news. He pulls out and I tell Jason that the Nightkin have gone. Hearing the rest of the ghouls then decide to rush down to the basement. Our next is to fix the rockets. We need to find some rocket guidance controls and some fuel for the rockets contained in an isotope.
As it so happens, I do have some thrust modules, but they're expensive. 500 caps worth of expensive.
After a short journey to Novak, we steal a few of the toy rockets that contain the radioactive substance. We then head just up the road to the Gibson scrapyard to pick up the controls. She wants me to pay an obscene amount for the controls, which I'm not all about, so I borrow the key from her and take the controls myself. We head back to the facility, give the ghouls the components and launch the rockets. Finally, we can head back to Novak and get the information we need. We tell Minnie that is done and cannot be undone. He gives us the information and we're finally free to leave.
Pleasure doing business with you.
After a lot of travelling, we finally end up in Boulder City. The town has a nice little memorial that pays respect to fallen troops, so I decide to punch it. I say it was an accident. Somehow.
What the fuck are you doing? My brother died at the Battle of Hoover Dam. You're desecrating a... Alright, apology accepted. Don't let it happen again.
We're then told there's a hostage situation between some NCR soldiers and the Great Khans that help shoot me in the head. We asked to talk to the Khans and we're allowed in. The Khans are surprised to see us and we tell them we're a ghost. I negotiate the hostage freedom and go back to the NCR. We're then told that the NCR has to shoot the hostage takers and the lieutenant says that he can't let the hostages go. We tell them the Khans were nice and that these should be too. Apparently that kind of reasoning is enough to convince him.
You're right. The Great Khans are free to go.
No wonder the NCR is going to lose this war. After that I see some train tracks and pretend to be a train for a few moments just whilst I deal with the boredom of travelling great distances. At some point I look behind me and I notice I picked up a few passengers that also wanted to pretend we were a train, as I have a trail of people following me. We finally make it to Feeside and we're instantly attacked by thugs. I do my best to outrun them as Boone guns them down. We try to get into New Vegas but we're told that we need 2,000 caps just to get into the strip. I've only got 993 caps thus far. So it's time to do some jobs for people. We head to the local gang, the Kings. Pacer tells us that we need to pay to see the king. I don't have much money as is, so I decided to take the key out of his pocket and let myself in. Thankfully nobody has anything to say about that. We meet the king and he tells us there's an issue with the bodyguards. He tells us that we need to check it out and see what's what. He gives us 200 caps to pay for the bodyguard. I ignore what he told me to do and take the money for myself. Unfortunately, due to my character's low intelligence, she forgets to pat down the customer. All of a sudden we're blasted away from the doors and we rush inside to see what happened. Unfortunately there's pretty much nothing left at this point. Our co-worker somehow has the audacity to blame us for what happened and turns on us. Fortunately Boone takes him down pretty quickly. After grabbing everything of value, we head to Mick and Ralph's, the sort of local general store of Freeside. He tells us that he can make us a counterfeit passport that will last into the strip. I buy one for 500 caps, an amount I already had, thus wasting some time and a few lives. We're finally allowed into the strip and Victor tells us to go see Mr. House. We ignore Victor and go to the tops to go talk to Benny.
What in the goddamn?
Out of character for a second, this conversation that follows genuinely makes me uncomfortable. We talk to Benny and offer to have intercourse with him. He's surprised but agrees to it. We sleep with him and then he decides to run away to a location called the Fort, deep in Legion territory. We head there ourselves and Boone opens fire straight away on the Legion, so I have to tell him to leave my party for now so that I can get to the location, without attacking every single person in Caesar's Legion. We meet up with the Faymen and are taken to Caesar's encampment. We head up the hill and meet a charming bastion of humanity.
What do you want from me, woman? I'm in charge of the arena, not the cooking pots. No, imbecile, that's not how it works. I set up the fights, then you go in the arena and fight. Know your place, woman. Unlike the profligates of the NCR, only men fight in the Legion. Women are beneath notice, as Caesar has taught us. I'm only allowing you to speak to me because you are Caesar's guest. I may yet, if Caesar commands it. Go.
Next we talk to Caesar. He goes on about his ideals and all other sorts of nonsense. At this point I had actually considered joining him, just because I would enjoy the irony of a pacifist joining the biggest, most violent gang of people in the Mojave Desert. We're told to talk to Benny on our way out, to decide how he dies. Now I wanted to set him free, but I had to get him a stealth buoy and a bobby pin. Unfortunately I don't have those. We enter the vault and Mr. House talks to us for the first time. We're told to reactivate everything down there.
Or after Benny fled, even. Quite an honor you spurned.
Unfortunately, Mr. House has lost control of the security down there, and the security arms are flailing dangerously.
You need to work on your bloodthirst. We won't speak again until Benny is dead. Walk away if you want, but if you do, he's going up.
He tells us that we now have to decide Benny's fate. I didn't want to have to choose to kill him, but I had no choice. I chose crucifixion. It seemed like the kindest way to die.
You sick, vindictive fuck.
Caesar then tells us that he wants us to kill Mr. House. I wasn't about that, so I just leave and return to Mr. House. Mr. House then tells us that he wants us to go visit the boomers to get them on our side. We make our way there after a long journey and meet up with George, who tells us that he knows how to get past them and wants to gamble on me getting through. I agree to him, and then for some reason, I guess thanks to my low intelligence, he decides to give up on life whilst he was talking to me. He just decides to slowly walk into the artillery fire and dies. I take back my money. We quickly make our way to the perimeter of the boomers' territory, and the boomers take me to their leader. We talk to Mother Pearl, and she wants us to help her people out. We listen to a kid tell the story of the history of the boomers. We slice up a guy, and we get lucky and cure him. We give some kids some toys. We sort out a relationship with some guy, and we finally lift an old B-21 bomber up from the bottom of the lake. After all this is done, the boomers finally trust enough to help us out. Next we're told to check out the Emeritus, one of the local tribes that run one of the casinos. We head to Gamora and talk to the receptionist. We're then told by the receptionist that the only person that will talk to us is Caccino. After asking around about him, he comes to us. We meet with Caccino. We want to know what's the word around the casino. We steal Caccino's journal and that makes Caccino a lot more talkative. He tells us that the gang is planning on attacking the strip. There are two people working for the casino, Troik and Clandon. Troik helps get the guns into the casino, and I don't know what Clandon's deal is, but he's weird and there's blood all over his apartment. We convince Troik to destroy the guns. After this we're called into the office. We're told to sit down by Big Sal. He tells us the plan, like a stereotypical evil villain monologuing. We tell him that Nero betrayed him, and then the room turns into a three-way shootout. I sit to wait until the end of the fight. Unfortunately, Caccino gets killed and I'm forced to run away. It's at this point that something odd happens. It's like Nero is so enraged with betrayal fury that he just decides to go on a killing spree. He starts killing his own men and stage performers until somebody else can take him down.
anybody there?
Help!
I'm gonna clip your sorry ass.
Next, Mr. House tells us that we need to go to the Brotherhood of Steel bunker and wipe them out. We head to Hidden Valley and the Brotherhood of Steel forces us to go inside. Once we're inside, we're forced to talk to the Elder of the Brotherhood. We're given an explosive collar and told to deal with the Ranger. We confront the Ranger and tell him that Powder Gangers use this area as one of their bases of operations. He gets scared and then runs away. We head back to the Elder and he congratulates us on a job well done. At this point we do a variety of tasks for the Brotherhood, removing a virus, finding holodisks and usurping the current Elder and installing a new one. After doing all of this, we get the Brotherhood on our side, as they come to like us, or at least find us useful. We head back to Mr. House and he tells us that he didn't ask us to make friends with them, he told us to kill them.
Just wipe them out, will you?
Now at this point I'd reached a dilemma. Do I kill Mr. House or do I kill the Brotherhood? I didn't want to kill either of them. However, I knew there was a possibility that I would be able to satiate Mr. House without directly killing anybody. I head to the Brotherhood of Steel bunker, steal the 3 access codes that I needed to cause the base to self-destruct, and then leave. After activating the self-destruct, I had to juke and jive past every member of the Brotherhood of Steel, eventually making it outside and then making it to the strip, where I check my Pip-Boy and my total number of kills is still 0. Proof if proof be needed that explosives don't actually kill people. We've one final task to complete before the big fight at Hoover Dam. We head to prevent the assassination of the NCR president. We head to the dam, sign up with the security detail, and are told to secure the perimeter and look around to see if there's anything suspicious. I took my way up to the president's vertibird and noticed that one of the engineers is carrying a remote detonator. I inform the ranger in charge and he calls off the presidential speech. Once he is secure, we head back to Mr. House and he tells us that big fight is about to occur. We head into the dam, trick 2 NCR Rangers that their CO needs help, and they leave. We connect Mr. House to the dam's power plant computer. We grab the surrender treaty and turn on the power at the dam. Once all that is done, we head towards the Legate's camp, where we have a long discussion about tactics and strategy, and my character has no idea what she's saying, but he's eating it up regardless. In the end, the Legate decides to retreat back across the Colorado. The NCR show up just in time as the battle has already been won, and then we negotiate the NCR surrender and removal from the Mojave. And that's the run. All that's left to do is sign off and display this to that screen.
And so the courier who had cheated death in the cemetery outside Good Springs cheated death once again, and the Mojave wasteland was forever changed. Mr. House's Securitron army took control of Hoover Dam and the Strip, pushing both the Legion and the exhausted NCR out of New Vegas. Mr. House continued to run New Vegas his way, a despotic vision of pre-war glory. The streets were orderly, efficient, cold. New Vegas continued to be the sole place in the wasteland where fortunes were won and lost in the blink of an eye. The courier, who had a mixed history in the wasteland, kept the status quo at Hoover Dam. Mr. House kept New Vegas stable, if not free, for generations, and afforded the courier every luxury at his disposal in the Lucky 38.
Mr. House showed little interest on the boomers, who eventually began venturing out to Nellis to meet and trade with travelers.
Buried beneath tons of rubble, the Mojave chapter of the Brotherhood of Steel was no more. Those few who were outside the Hidden Valley bunker when it was destroyed settled into new lives, or headed west to find a new chapter to join.
The Fiends staged an attack against Camp McCarran during the Second Battle of Hoover Dam. During the NCR's retreat, the Fiends overwhelmed many of the troopers before Mr. House's Securitrons could deal with them.
After Mr. House gained control of New Vegas, he sent a Securitron to Good Springs as a token of appreciation for helping the courier. Victor was a mixed blessing, however, as he continually monitored the town for Mr. House.
During the Battle of Hoover Dam, the Great Khans quickly evacuated Red Rock Canyon and headed north and east into the plains of Wyoming. There, they reconnected with the followers of the Apocalypse and rebuilt their strength. Bolstered by ancient knowledge of governance, economics, and transportation, they carved a mighty empire out of the ruins of the Northwest.
Flush with his victory, Mr. House sent Securitrons into Freeside, thinking to increase his control over the area. When fighting broke out, the Kings fought valiantly, but were no match for the armored killing machines, and were wiped out to the last man.
Though Novak was a low-priority target for the Legion, many of Novak's citizens died in its defense. In the weeks that followed, several bright followers returned to Novak to help restore its defenses, allowing it to remain independent of NCR.
Armed with a wide array of improvised explosives and stolen weapons, the Vault 19 powder gang tormented the Mojave Wasteland for years. Citizens of the NCR were favorite targets, and they always suffered the worst fates.
And so the Courier's Road came to an end, for now. In the new world of the Mojave Wasteland, fighting continued, blood was spilled, and many lived and died just as they had in the old world. Because war never changes.
Thanks for watching. Maybe you'd like to click on one of these videos for more. Alternatively, you could subscribe and check out my selection of guides, comical videos and co-op playthroughs. I recommend the Pokemon Crystal playthrough. It's very good if I do say so myself. Alternatively, you can give my brain a hit of dopamine by clicking the like button or leaving a comment. I could really use more dopamine.